What up, y'all? Welcome to another episode, the year-end episode of Championship Rounds Podcast. I am your host, Vegas. With me are the partners in crime in boxing for 2022 going into 2023. First up, Robert Silva. He does everything. He does a number of podcasts, not just boxing. Let's make that clear. But a ton of podcasts around the culture. But boxing is what we talk about here, man. He's a writer also. What's good, Robert?
Hey, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody listening. Because like Vegas said, this is the last show of the year.
And in the other corner, we have the homie from IntoTheDome.com, Into the Dome podcast. Catch him on Twitter. Taking 12 rounds, sometimes 15 rounds, sometimes one round knockout when it comes to the dudes on Twitter talking foolishness about hip hop and American culture in general. Tony, what's good, man?
Hey, man, good to talk to you brothers again, man. And for everyone listening, man, we're gonna have a good time tonight, man. Everything good on my end, coming over a little cold, man. So I'll be a little raspy, people, but we love boxing, so we're gonna talk about this thing called boxing tonight.
Yeah, and boxing
also,
raspy is actually good, you know.
One last thing, and don't put yourself short, Vegas. Vegas, one of the leading hip hop historians on the planet, along with Tony. These brothers know their shit, and Vegas is such a historian that he don't even fuck with y'all on Twitter. He like, all right, whatever.
Right. Some things, you just don't need to address.
Robert, I'm a fighter by nature, man. So sometimes it just spill over in the hip hop.
They annoy the fuck out of me when they try and come at you, Tone. I'm like, why are they bothering this dude, man? You're fucking 24 years old. Shut the fuck up.
It's Twitter, man. This is what they do, man. And Twitter's gonna play a role in, something I got to say.
Yes. I know where you're coming from.
You know what I'm talking about. But for you who are listening, whether it's from the first time, or maybe you come back every now and again, or maybe you listen to every episode. This is the year-end episode. This is when we talk about the year as a whole, sort of like our personal award show, so to speak. But most importantly, you need to share this podcast with people you know and just love this kind of boxing talk, whether it's the barbershop, the streets, school, wherever it may be, where you like to talk boxing after a fight. This is your kind of podcast. We've been doing it for a minute. Not only do we talk about current events in boxing, we talk about upcoming events in boxing. We recap fights. And most importantly, we score fights from the past. Only boxing heads care about shit like that, scoring a fight, right? And that's what we do. And just to start off this whole year, we're pretty good. We're predicting not only how fights would end up, but sometimes even the punches. Am I right, fellas?
Hey, I think out of the 10 months we did the program, because we skipped a couple of months this year because of personal issues with the three of us, but I think we might have been wrong twice all year long. Yeah. All three of us combined.
Yeah. It's pretty extraordinary. But again, to you people who are listening, we don't just say it because we want to seem superior to other boxing fans. We love the sport of boxing. We watch everything about it, even watching dudes fight.
Look,
really early in the morning in other countries. You know what I mean?
The three of us combined over 100 years of watching boxing. The three of us combined.
It's crazy.
So if you like all of what you heard and you like this episode, subscribe wherever you get this podcast. Is available everywhere, and we'll have more for you. And this episode will be available in a video form. No, we're not on camera, but some people like listen to podcasts on YouTube. I've done it here and there before, but I want to commit to it a little bit more going forward. So there you have that. The link is in the description of this episode. And for the year of 2022, before we get like really into fight of the year, round of the year, all that good stuff, fellas, I want to, and Tone, I'll come to you first on this. How will 2022 be remembered for you as far as boxing goes?
You know what? Looking at the entire year, man, it was pretty solid. When I look it back, there's a few fights I wish would have happened that didn't happen, but overall, man, as a real boxing fanatic, man, I really sat down and enjoyed several fights and several fighters from 2022 that we're going to talk about today, man. So not mad at it, man. Pretty good year for boxing. Pretty good year.
Okay, Robert, what you think about the year 2022 and what was boxing like for?
On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give it a 6. It had the potential to be a 10, but of course, Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford, didn't happen. Tyson Fury talked a lot of bullshit, but didn't fight anybody this year.
Right.
He fought 2 ancient fucking zombies.
That's
now,
true.
Look, every world champion that's on that level, and I'm not going to lie, Tyson Fury's the best heavyweight of this era, can afford to have a fight or two where they're fighting stiffs. But don't call out Usyk and Joshua and then fight the dude he fought last, Chisora. That was on the same level, ladies and gentlemen, as Larry Holmes versus Randall Tex Cobb. He had no shot at winning. That was blasphemy, man.
Yeah,
he beat the hell out of that zombie. That was ridiculous. That was and if they ever let Chisora fight again, that's criminal. So on a scale of 1 to 10, a 6, because there was a lot of great matchups that should have happened that didn't happen. And this coming off a great run of boxing years where we had great fight after great fight. You had great unification matchups in the whole 9. This year fell short, especially when you looked at 2019, 2021, even the pandemic year 2020.
Yeah,
it's definitely the weakest of the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, even weaker than the pandemic year. Remember, there was no boxing for 3 months during the pandemic.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is crazy when you think about it. Yeah, I agree with y'all. Like, I feel like this year suffered a lot because the summer was weak. Right, there was some great fights here and there, but like Robert said, there was a couple of matchups that I wanted to happen but didn't happen. There were surprises and there were good fights throughout the year, but it just wasn't memorable. So even when I was going through my list for these different categories, I had trouble remembering a couple of matchups and whether or not they happened this year. But nevertheless, as a boxing fan, we got plenty of boxing. We got plenty to talk about. So, fellas, let's just get started right off the bat. Fighter or fighters of the year. Robert, who do you have?
There's only one guy that I'd give fighter of the year to. An honorable mention to Jesse Bam Rodriguez, because he went at 115 pounds and he dominated, had a great year. Naoya Inoue, who is now the undisputed bantamweight champion of the world and the best fighter in the world right now, and all 3 of us agree. He also is an honorable mention runner-up, but got to give it to Dimitri Bivol, who dominated 2 Mexican fighters that people thought he was going to lose to in Zurdo Ramirez and the #1 box office star in Canelo Alvarez. He dominated both of them. Neither fight was competitive. Dimitri Bivol is my championship round podcast 2022 fighter of the year.
All right, Tony. So who'd you have?
So listen, man, I wish I could turn the camera around and show you my little list of some random thoughts I was jotting down about an hour ago. Dimitri Bivol is my #1. He's the #1 name right here. And for the same reason that Robert said, man, I'm gonna tell you, man, the dude is a good technical fighter, man. I'm not mad at him. People used to get mad about him saying he had a safe style and he didn't ever put himself out there. Dude can box.
Tone, he's a great fighter. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Let's stop.
Yes, he is.
If you look at his career, he doesn't lose rounds.
He does not.
He might have lost 6 rounds in his entire career.
Yeah, man, he doesn't lose rounds, man. Did you see the interview when Charlo walked up and they had a conversation?
No.
Yeah, Charlo asked him will he fight him, and Bivol was kind of like, well, he wanted, he's looking to be undisputed, whatever. And Charlo was like, well, let's just do it for entertainment, whatever. And he was like, yeah, sure. And they shook on it.
Yeah, Bivol will fight anybody.
He will, man.
And you know what? With his style, fellas, he's not going to be scared of anybody because he's a textbook boxer. If you want to learn how to box and you never boxed before, watch a video of him. You could learn by watching him. Everything's off the jab. He doesn't waste movement. He throws combinations. He keeps his hands up. He's good defensively. He is.
You know what he is, Robert?
He's the Tim Duncan of boxing.
Man, boy, why you in my head, man?
I know. I knew that's where you. You a Carolina dude. You a Carolina dude. So I know he was coming out with this.
Oh yes, man. I was gonna tell you, he's the big fundamental. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna hit the bank shot off the glass. He's gonna hit his free throws. He's gonna hit the open three. That's how he is with it. Bivol is with the boxing, man. Like he's gonna give you the stiff jab. He's gonna move around the ring the right way. He's gonna cover his head for the defense. I mean, he's a good boxer, man. I mean, he's a great boxer, man. So a few other people I had down here who I enjoyed this year, of course, Inoue or Inoue. People pronounce it different ways. Hector Garcia, man. I like the way with the Cobra fight, man. Garcia had a little bit of funk in him, man. You know what I'm saying? He'll throw them hands. You know what I'm saying? So I enjoyed him, man. Stevenson and Haney had some good fights this year. Charlo did as well, and Usyk did. But I'm gonna go with Dimitri Bivol, man. Veg, man. Who's you got for 2022?
Same thing, man. I got Dimitri Bivol as my fighter of the year. Honestly, I forgot about that dude until he fought Canelo and dominated Canelo. So then I watched his next fight, and he was dominant again. And I'm like, wow, we've really forgotten about this cat as far as his skill and everything he brings to the table, and he displayed that. You know what I'm saying? So I think he deserves to be number one. I had as runner-ups, right? I had Inoue being undisputed at bantamweight, and I also had Clarissa Shields.
Yeah,
I don't know what her ceiling is, but she just looks dominant no matter what she's going after. She's
Vegas, she's my female fighter of the year. It's not even close.
Well, I'm trying to, to be gender
because I don't. It's hard. You know what I'm saying? In any sport, it's hard for us to compare female fighters to male fighters or female athletes to female athletes because the competition is different. Clarissa, had she been a man, would have been an all-time great fighter. She fights. I hate to say this, but to me, she's the Serena Williams of boxing. The way she fights.
Yeah, I think she is all-time.
Yeah, that's not a bad comparison.
You see how Serena, when in her prime, no one could fuck with her. No one could fuck with Clarissa. No one.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like with Serena, you could look at Serena and say she's beating a couple dudes easy.
And you can say the same thing with Clarissa. Yes.
Right. Like every time I watch her, I'm like, she might have to move out of the women's division because I just don't see these chicks beating her. Like she's just so determined. So she was definitely a runner-up for her domination.
Yeah, man, she's skilled, man. She's a hard worker too.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Oh, she stays in the gym, fellas.
Yeah, she does. Yeah. She really does. All right. Fight of the year, or if you have more than one, that's cool. Also, Tone, what do you have?
Man, I have a few that I enjoy, man. Inoue versus Donaire, man. Just that whole atmosphere for that fight, man. There was a lot of drama in the fight, man. Loud crowd, man, and again, man, it was a classic to me, man. I enjoyed it.
Wait a minute, back up. The second fight was a brutal beating. It was one-sided. The first fight was 3 years ago. That was the great fight. Yeah, well, this fight was a one-side. This was a massacre. Donaire should have stayed. And it was a great massacre. Yeah. I'm just saying there was a lot of drama. Yeah. Right. He bashed him, no doubt, but that was great for me.
Right.
Yeah. So great ain't always like a draw.
I got you.
But and also the Garcia versus Colbert fight, man. I enjoyed that fight. There's a lot of speed and action in that fight.
And Colbert was exposed. Yes.
Yeah, he was. He got blasted, man. And he was trying to get that rematch at the end after he's making all the damn excuses. I'm like, nah, dog, you got your ass kicked now. Let's not get it twisted.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But he threw a couple of blows, man. But he got his ass kicked. And then I had where Ugas got his face reconstructed by Earl Spence.
Oh, that was beautiful. That was a good fight. It was competitive for about 5 rounds before his face started falling apart.
Yeah.
Once I was thinking about that the other day. Once he knocked that mouthpiece out and thought he had Spence hurt, Spence was like, "Oh, he just beat his ass for the rest
of the fight." Spence was hurt for a brief second. Remember, he bounced off the ropes.
He put his guard down.
If it wasn't for the ropes, he would have went down. They could have called that a knockdown because the ropes held him up.
They did.
Yeah, technically, yep.
Yeah, he got careless right there, but yeah, nevertheless, he broke his face in.
Yeah, basically. All right, Robin, what you have? Fight of the year, fights of the year.
All right, I gave you my fighter of the year was Inoue. My fight of the year. Before I give that, let me give you my runner-ups. One of them was it was 2 weeks. It wasn't last week. It was the week before last. The third fight between Chocolatito and Estrada, where you had a lot of drama, you had a lot of back and forth. Estrada won the first 6 rounds on my scorecard. Then Chocolatito, who looked done, came roaring back, won the next 5 rounds. And then in an epic 12th round, Estrada outpunched Chocolatito to edge the fight and win. And hopefully that's the last time they fight each other. Because
that was a good fight.
That was a great fight. And Lee Wood versus Michael Conlan. Incredible featherweight title fight out in England. And in the 12th round, the fight's on the line. They're going toe-to-toe, and Conlan gets knocked out the ring and almost murdered. Great finish late in the fight. And then my fight of the year, Sebastian Fundora versus Erickson Lubin. Just pure brutality. And Lubin exposed Fundora. Fundora's got no defense, but Fundora, he's so much bigger. And Lubin quit in the corner because he was so fucked up. And he didn't even know he was ahead on the scorecards when they stopped the fight. Great fight. I would love to see a rematch. So my fight of the year, Lubin versus Fundora. And my runner-ups, Conlan Wood and Chocolatito Estrada 3.
I had the same fight of the year, man. Sebastian Fundora versus Erickson Lubin. I did not expect that fight. When I started watching it, it was one of those, all right, boxing's on and, interested. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're interested in seeing what happens. But, man, when I tell you a fight that, like, wakes you up and shit, where you like, oh, wait a minute. You start tweeting, right? Okay, this is one of them.
Yep.
My runner-up was Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. Mainly because, again, I didn't have expectations for this fight.
That was a great fight. I forgot about that fight.
Yeah. It was kind of like, oh, this is a great matchup, but you want to talk about round for round, back and forth to the end. And I think I tweeted like, yo, this might be fight of the year, because it was just, I was that engaged as a boxing fan and what was happening, and I didn't know what was going to happen. And that's the sign of a great fight, especially when it goes a distance. So that was definitely my runner-up. Obviously, I'm partial to people getting knocked the fuck out. So seeing Lubin fight that way, and, unfortunately losing was definitely big entertainment for me in 2023. All right, now here's the ones that, those of you who don't really follow everything in podcasts, I mean, obviously not in podcasts, in boxing. And, you're hearing these fighters' names, and maybe some of them, maybe some you're not familiar with. You go look them all up on YouTube. But upset of the year is always the most intriguing to me, especially if you're not aware, because you want to know why, the context. So, Robert, I'll come back to you. What was your upset of 2022?
Well, my runner-up was a fight we mentioned earlier, Hector Garcia beating Chris Colbert. Going into the fight, Colbert was a huge favorite. Everybody was pushing him as, oh, he's there with Haney and Shakur as up-and-coming lightweights. He's got the ability to be both, which he doesn't. Hector Garcia came in, unknown, shocked the world, kicked Colbert's ass, exposed Colbert, and now, because of that win, he gets to fight Tank Garcia in a few weeks. And I'm gonna go with Tank, but it's not gonna be easy fighting. Garcia, one of them tough Mexicans that can out hustle you. And if Tank does not show up and doesn't knock out Garcia, he could be in for a long night because Garcia throws a lot of punches and he keeps
Mhm.
coming. And we know Tank doesn't throw a lot of punches. Tank likes to
Right.
conserve his energy and look for that one shot. So that's my runner-up. My upset of the year was Mark Marcelo beating Gary Russell, fighting which Russell broke his hand in the second or third round, had to fight with one hand, and almost won the fight with one hand because Marcelo's not that good. But Russell lost. It was a huge upset. I wasn't expecting that. Of course, if he had both hands, he would have won. But you know, that and 275 would get you on the PATH train or the subway.
Right.
He lost that fight. So that's my upset of the year.
Yeah, he definitely lost.
How about you, Tony? What was your upset of 2022?
So mine is actually when Bivol beat Canelo, but let me explain myself.
Yo, Canelo was a huge favorite.
He was a huge favorite. And the thing is, because at the time, Canelo was still one of the top, if not the top name in boxing. So people just automatically assumed Bivol was going to lose. And
I was the only dude with a weekly podcast that predicted Canelo was going to win. Out of, I don't know, 600 podcasts out there, because we do monthly, I'm talking about weekly. I was the only one that predicted Bivol was going to win.
Yeah.
Everybody else predicted Canelo. And Canelo was a huge favorite. So that's a great choice, Tone.
Yeah. And the thing was, I thought to myself when I saw the matchup, I said, you know what? Canelo should win this fight, but Bivol is not a good matchup for him. That's what I was saying to myself. I think we all talked about that before as well. It just wasn't a good matchup. And Styles made fights, but nevertheless, you know, it made him a superstar. You know what I mean? He was already a star, good boxer, you know, but that was a big win for his career. And to me, one of the biggest upsets of the year, man. So I'm gonna get that to Bivol beating Canelo.
Great choice.
I had the same thing, man. I wasn't feeling like Canelo was the overwhelming favorite. I knew this would be a tougher matchup for him, but I thought he would pull off the victory with some boxing skills, and he got outboxed. Clearly outboxed. So much he went and fought an old man with the great,
and he's going to fight another stiff in May. He's going to fight another stiff in John Ryder. Come on, man. Canelo,
that's
stop
terrible.
that bullshit. Come on,
stop. Come on, man. Who you fighting, man? Why are you fighting him? Damn.
That's terrible.
I could dig it, but I can't. Come on, man.
Because he could get away with it, fellas. You know what it is.
Right. But yeah, you know, same thing that Tone said, same thing that you said, Robert. You know, you know the matchup, and you feel like Canelo has the momentum, but that's why I love boxing. Bivol was just so casual in the way he just like he didn't, you know how some people fold under the pressure or they get too hype or too relaxed and they fall out of character. Like Tony said earlier, he's Tim Duncan. It doesn't matter if it's the NBA Finals. You're gonna get fundamentals till it's time to raise the trophy.
He's going to get 25 points, 12 rebounds, 3 block shots, and make a huge either defensive or offensive play to win the game late in the game, like he did throughout his entire career in the postseason.
Yeah, man.
That's it. That's simple.
Right. It was dope to watch. All right. Round of the year. I'll go first on this one. It's a matchup I already mentioned. Fundora versus Lubin. Again, you can almost pick them, but the knockdowns really got me up off the couch.
Oh, yes.
Like, because the shits were brutal. Like each knockdown, I was like, oh shit, it's over. You know what I'm saying? I was sure it was over. But again, a very surprising fight, a very entertaining fight, crowd pleasing, obviously. People like knockdowns and knockouts. Honestly, I would love to see a rematch just because I don't think it's going to change. I think it's going to be the same thing. So I wouldn't mind more. Tony, what did you have as your round of the year?
I don't even know if I have a round of the year, but I'm gonna tell you a round that I enjoyed. Somebody getting blasted on. I like when Arthur Beterbiev blasted Joe Smith.
Oh my God! Yeah.
People actually thought Joe Smith had a shot at winning that fight. So I enjoyed what Beterbiev did to Joe Smith though in that round. I think it was round two?
Round two. By the way, we all predicted he'd get destroyed. But you had so-called experts. Oh, well, anything could happen. And Joe Smith has a type of style that could catch Beterbiev if he's not on his A game. What the fuck are they looking at?
Yeah, that was a funny round. I mean, I enjoyed that round, man. It wasn't like the round your pick, Vague, but this is a personal little thing that I enjoyed. Benavidez can hit too.
Right.
Yeah, that's mine.
Yeah, absolutely. Shit. All right, Robert, round of the year for you.
All right. Before I say what my round of the year is, let me give a couple of honorable mentions. The 12th round between Lee Wood and Michael Conlan, in which Lee Wood won by knocking Conlan out the ring and almost killing him. And then a couple of weeks ago, the 12th round between Chocolatito and Estrada, where they went toe-to-toe as both men knew the fight was on the line. And my number one pick is the same pick as Vegas. Both men went down. That was a brutal round of a brutal fight.
Which round was that again?
Was it the third or the fourth round? No.
Fourth round. Yeah.
The ninth round was when he quit.
Yeah.
Because he had taken too much punishment. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I mean, in general, it was a year of boxing, right? Obviously, we can think of years that were better. But nevertheless, as you can see, we were satisfied at some point or another when it came to these boxing matchups.
You guys want to real quick add a category off the top of your head, because we've watched damn near every big fight this year. Knockout of the year?
Knockout of the year?
Yeah. What's your knockout of the year, Vegas?
Let me see. I'm trying to think of. I think my knockout of the year is not necessarily like a brutal knockout. Well, I mean, of course, it's brutal, but maybe satisfying to see. Was just to see Deontay Wilder come back in a way.
No, that was a candidate for knockout of the year. I was there.
Yeah,
that shit was brutal, man.
It was.
It was definitely brutal.
That's a great choice. That's a great choice. Yes.
Right. But I think, I was also satisfied to see him like, okay, well, at least some part of him is back. You know what I mean?
And also what I loved about that knockout was you didn't see the wear and tear of a heavyweight in his mid-30s after being in two brutal wars. You saw that he wasn't punchy, and you saw that his movement, he looked the same before the Fury fights. So I'm glad to see that, because I was worried about that. That was my biggest concern. Did he lose a step? And neurologically, is he damaged from those two beatings that Fury gave him? It didn't look like it, but there was only one round. But that's a great choice, Vegas. What about yours, Tone? Your knockout of the year.
I kind of like that one too, man. But I'm trying to think, man. One I did like when they said knockout of the year. I like the way Tank Davis shut Romero.
Oh, that was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. Oh, yes, he beat that rapist down. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go there just because Rolando talked too fucking much.
Mm-hmm. Well, my knockout of the year, I've referenced it throughout the podcast today, is Lee Wood knocking Michael Conlan out of the ring in the 12th and final round of a brutal
I don't think I caught that end of that fight, man.
Yeah, well, I'll send you the link while we're talking. The way he knocked him out the ring, man. I've only seen that one other time. That's when Joe Smith knocked out Bernard Hopkins.
Oh my goodness, that was terrible.
Bernard was so fucked up. He's like, he pushed me. He pushed. Nah.
Yeah, he thought he got pushed.
Right, like, come on, Bernard.
Bernard got punched.
Yeah, right.
You got caught and you went to sleep. Stop it.
He had talked so much shit before that fight, man.
He had no business being in the ring. I don't understand it. I don't understand.
Well, he knocked Bernard silly.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay, good. I'm gonna send a link to you on Twitter while you guys talk. Go ahead. I found
that's cool.
Yeah.
All right. So coming up, we have the year 2023. Obviously, there's some matchups that are supposed to take place. There are some things in boxing, as far as boxing fans, some expectations we may have, some wishes. Some of the wishes we may get, some we may not get. Tone, I'm gonna start with you first. What are you most looking forward to in 2023, or just a general wish list, so to speak?
Man, I think the first thing is obviously some business need to be taken care of, so this fight with Crawford and Spence can happen. I think any boxing fan know that that's going to be the biggest fight you can make over the next couple years. So that fight need to happen, man. So I'm looking forward to seeing if it can happen. I don't think it's gonna happen next year, guys. I don't think Terrence Crawford want to fight Errol Spence, but that's another whole discussion for another day. But Garcia against Tank, Ryan Garcia, I think I'm looking forward to that. If they, they both gonna win they next fights.
It's not that with Tank, he's got 2 hurdles that he has to clear before fighting Garcia.
Oh, so it's 2? I thought it was 1.
No, one is not a fight. One is a different type of fight. He has to beat Hector Garcia, and while I think he will, it's a tough fight. He could lose that fight, but even if he wins that fight, which he should, he's got a trial in February. That if he's convicted, he's not fighting.
Okay, so I forgot about that. So
I mean the fight with Ryan is signed for April, but he's got 2 fights he's got to win first.
Yeah. So so then if that fight happened, I'd like to see that happen.
Yeah.
Jermell Charlo against Bivol, they shook hands on it, and I think it's gonna happen. You guys got to YouTube that little confrontation. It wasn't really a bad confrontation. It was cool because Charlo was respectful. So was Bivol, man. They shook hands on it and stuff like that. So I think that would be a very interesting fight, man. And I like to see Devin Haney against Shakur Stevenson by the fall, man, because I went back and watched their sparring match. They both were young, man, but I'm not gonna front, man. Even though I think Shakur might be able to get him now, Haney kicked his ass in that sparring match, dog. Let me be real with you. I watched that shit twice in the last couple of weeks.
Well, remember when they sparred, Shakur was a featherweight and Haney was a lightweight.
I get it. Haney was 16 years old though.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, I still want to see these guys fight too, because everybody doing a lot of Twitter fighting right now.
Right. What about you, Robert? What are you most looking forward to in 2020?
These are the 3 fights I want to see. All right. Spence Crawford will always be number 1 until one of those guys loses. All right. Then I won't even talk about it. So that's one. Usyk versus Fury. Wilder versus Joshua are 2 fights I would love to see in 2023. We'll see. And there's a couple of more fights. Naoya Inoue versus Stephen Coolboy Fulton, because Inoue's done at 118. He's going to get rid of those belts and move up to 122. Fulton is the only guy on the planet that's got a slim shot at beating Inoue. Nobody else has a shot. So I would love to see that fight. And Haney versus Shakur, because now Lomachenko's playing games. Lomachenko wants to fight Haney in May, knowing you
don't really want to fight him.
Knowing the longer he could delay the fight, the harder it is for Haney to lose the weight. Haney wants to fight in March because Haney is a practicing Muslim and Ramadan is at the end of March to the middle of April. And so he could make the weight for March, but after Ramadan is over, he's going to put on that weight back because he didn't eat for 30 days.
Right.
And then of course Haney Shakur, I would love to see Haney beats Lomachenko, because Lomachenko's not beating Haney unless he has an unfair advantage like the weight.
He's not going to beat him.
And then Haney versus Shakur in the fall. That fight has a lot of Sugar Ray Leonard versus Thomas Hearn, Sugar Ray Leonard versus Wilfred Benitez type match.
Yeah. You know what, Robert?
Yeah.
Robert, I'm just as interested in Shakur versus Haney as I am in Crawford and Spence, to be honest with you.
Me too.
I'm just as intrigued.
Because you have Haney and Shakur, 2 fighters in their prime, 2 defensive wizards, 2 great counter punches. They're like looking in the mirror at each other, right? It would remind me of Sugar Ray Leonard versus Wilfred Benitez, where you had these 2 great boxers coming in, and who's going to be the aggressor, who's going to be the boxer, because both of these guys can't box. Somebody's got to come forward.
Yeah.
And for me in 2023, obviously, I'm looking forward to Haney and Stevenson. I agree. I'm probably more intrigued about that at this point than Spence versus Crawford, because I feel like with that fight, who knows what's going to happen. And now you have Pacquiao tempting Spence, at least, with a bag by saying, hey, I'll come out and fight one of y'all, whatever. I guess he got to pay some mortgage or something. I
think Manny is broke, ladies and gentlemen now listening, and fellas on the panel. The reason I think Manny is broke is because for years, Bob Arum and Top Rank and Manny's financial advisors cheated him out of money, and they didn't file his taxes correctly, right? And if you notice, he fired Bob Arum and he went to Al Heyman for several fights because Al Heyman paid him well, and he might have cleared up his debts, but he doesn't have the money he used to have. That's why he's fighting these bullshit exhibitions. And also, he spent a lot of money in his country feeding people.
Yep.
Manny loves his country and his hometown, which is a very poor city, and he puts a lot of money back into that economy. And I think it's broken him. And he's looking for a bag, and he's willing to take a beating for the bag, which is sad because if he fights Spencer Crawford, dementia will be right around the corner.
Yeah, he's definitely going to take a beating for that.
Yeah, there's no way in the world he could beat either fighter. No, it's not happening.
Right.
No way.
No way. Right. All right. So also, I want to see the Fury and Usyk fight.
One last thing, fellas. One last thing. Before Manny fights those guys, don't be surprised if you see Manny Floyd in 2023.
Oh, absolutely. But guess what?
I don't want to see it. And they're going to get paid a lot of money, but I don't think the casual fan will give a fuck. You have to be the hardest of the hardcore to watch that fight, to watch two guys that should be getting senior citizen checks fighting each other.
That's exactly what they're going to get from fighting each other. But yeah, Usyk and Fury, I definitely want to see that match.
Yeah, that's a good one too, man. I like to see that one.
What I would love,
instead we had to watch Fury fight fucking Bebop and fucking Rocksteady from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and shit.
He fought White and Chisora, two zombies. Come on.
Right, two zombies back to back. Also, I want to see the Tank and Garcia fight if it happens. Really, basically off of entertainment value, right? I feel like
they'll be talking a lot of shit. They'll be talking shit galore.
They talk a ton of shit, but we'll see what happens. And then obviously, if it does happen, of course, I'll be right there to watch Spence.
And that's and listeners, that's a 50-50 fight. Don't sleep on Garcia. He's got as much power as Tank, and he throws more punches than Tank. Remember, while I would still favor Tank, because Garcia, when he has gotten hit, has done the shaky leg, and Tank has the better chin.
Right,
Garcia throws many more punches.
But what's
coming to fight?
That's weird. I don't understand why. Well, maybe I do understand, but Tank for the last couple of fights, and we've kind of said this, he's always losing on the scorecard.
Yes. Yep. The last 3-4 fights. Yes.
Right. Like getting dominated almost. You know what I'm saying?
He got the grenade. He got the grenade in his hand, so he always got a chance.
Right. Right. Exactly.
But you see, that's a lot of fighters in the past downfall. Happened with Mike Tyson. Remember when Mike Tyson was with Kevin Rooney, he was throwing a jab, going to the body. But once he got rid of Kevin Rooney, he wanted to knock everybody out with one shot. Buster Douglas kicked his ass, and he was never the same after that. You see that all the time with fighters. Adrian Broner, he throws 3-4 punches around, and Tank is getting into that bad habit of, I got this hot. Deontay Wilder for most of his career. Deontay Wilder never developed his boxing skills because he had that equalizer.
Yep.
But then when you fight somebody like a Tyson Fury who could rise from the grave, what are you going to do? You hit it with your best shot.
That's when it was over.
Eventually, Tank is going to run. It might not be Ryan Garcia, but it'll be Haney or Shakur. He's going to run into somebody who is going to make him miss all night, exhaust him, take him into deep waters, and that one punch ain't going to mean shit.
And that's going to be his downfall right there.
Yes.
And unfortunately, bro, that'll be the blueprint. And after that, man, and I'm hoping this don't happen because I'm ready for all these young guys. But once one person outbox him and he can't knock them out, every other strategy going to be the same. And I think he'll struggle for several fights in a row.
Yeah, look, we have a real-time example. Tail, like, to me.
Oh, Tail's done.
He's done. And Bosa's kind of showed like, he's only looking for one thing. And we see it in every fight now.
And now he's fighting bigger dudes because he moved up to 140 who could take that one punch. And if he can't knock out one shot, he can't outbox you. What's he doing? He looked horrible Saturday night. I fell asleep during that fight. He looked so bad.
He did look bad. Did look bad.
All right, man. Well, it's been a decent year of boxing, and obviously 2023, we're looking forward to some more. Hopefully, we get all the matchups we mentioned, or at least some of them. Somebody fight the damn Charlos, please.
Please.
You know, we waiting, shit. But what do you think were some of the best fights of the year, knockout of the year? Who's your favorite fighter of the year? You can leave your comments in the comment section wherever you listen to this podcast, or you can visit us on Twitter. All the links are in the description of this episode. On behalf of the homies, happy holidays, happy new year. We'll see you on the other side.
Peace out,
Peace.
Peace.